Hi guys, this is the final part of patella treatment at home, and as just to summarise what we've been through, we want to take the pressure off the kneecap, okay, by loosening off the thigh, and we do this first of all by foam rolling your thighs, okay, and once we've foam rolled our thighs, we want to stretch the thighs out to make sure they're nice and loose, so we're taking the pressure off this. We then move on to hamstring curls, okay, just kind of preload and to warm up the knee joint. So we do the leg curls first to get those hamstrings working. We then move on to banded squats. Again, the emphasis is on the band. The band between the knees makes your hips work a little bit harder, so it allows for correct tracking of your knees. And then, of course, we move on after that, some more posterior chain work. We want to work into doing some kettlebell swings, okay, the purpose of which of course is continues to activate the glutes, the hamstring, and a little bit on the quads, but not too much, okay. So just really get that posterior chain working, and then finally finishing off again with some more leg curls. Now once you've done all these exercises, what next? Now the important thing to do is also think about stretching as well. So just to recap, how many sets are you going to do? Now, like I said before, it really is up to you. You could do one set of everything, okay, and work your way through, because it's quite a lot of exercises. And I would suggest you actually start with one set, okay. Once you're happy with that, work to see how many reps you can complete slowly and carefully. Now, like with all exercises, don't rush through, okay. Everything should be done slowly. I wouldn't suggest you go any slower than, say, 10 repetitions for each rep, okay. That's kind of what the heavy duty aficionados will recommend you do. But then again, I wouldn't rush either. I wouldn't want to be spending less than about 3 to 4 seconds on each repetition. But you've got to find the way that works for you best. I'm going to leave that up to your discretion. But anyway, once you've done all those exercises and worked your way through, you then, of course, need to just stretch everything else. Now, I like to return to foam rolling, or if you don't want to foam roll, what you can do are using exercise balls. So I have here a collection of spiky balls. I think these are fantastic. They're various sizes. The smallest one there, which is about 2 inches across. The largest one, which is about 4 inches. It's always good to start, say, with a big ball if you have one. Okay, and you can then continue to work around the quad just by, you can use your hands, just by rolling like this, okay, very carefully. But I mean, that's quite ineffectual, and it can be quite tough on your own arms. So simply do what you're doing with the foam rolling, lay on your front and get in here. So I'll show you what I mean. Put the ball on your quad and just roll your weight onto it like that, okay? Let's use another one, because that's quite, you can't see that clearly. Let's use a red one, a bit brighter. So back onto the quad here. Like that. Oh, there we go. And you can do it a bit slower than a foam roller. And you can work it round the leg so you can change position. You want to concentrate on any parts you can find are particularly painful, and just hold it there. And these are great because these tiny little spikes, they get right in to the muscle, and because it's your body weight against it, you're going to get a lot of pressure. It's a bit like having a treatment with me if I'm using my forearm or my elbow getting right in. But you tend to find this really helps get the blood into the tissues, and it breaks down a lot of adhesions in there, I think. Anyway, so I love using these. You can also use them around the knee joint itself, but please be very careful if you do that. I mean, you can, say, get a smaller ball if you want, and just around the edge of the kneecap, gently, and I do mean gently, work it around there, okay? Please don't do it for very long. You can irritate the surface if you're not careful, okay? So just very gently around there, because you are pressing onto bone a bit. So if you're bruised in that area afterwards, don't be surprised. So I mean, I do this, but very, very sparingly, okay? One way to do this, of course, is if you have flossing tape, you can actually wrap the tape around it first, and then you can work it through the flossing tape. It provides a degree of cushioning, and you're less likely to bruise. So anyway, that's a good way to do that. It's just to finish it. And then, of course, once you're done, then you want to stretch everything out again. Now, obviously, you should stretch your hamstrings, and you should stretch your glutes as well as your quads, all right? So we'll just run through that now. Simple hamstring stretch. If you have a band, it's a great way to do it. Simply lay on your back, and I always recommend you stretching your hamstring on your back, because if you say bend down to touch your toes, there's a really good chance you can put your back out. So simply get on your back, one leg out here in front of you on the floor. Make sure your head is resting on the floor. Pull the shoulder blades down and back, and bring that leg up as high as you can. And just hold that there, and you want to sustain this for, say, about 30 seconds to a minute, and you can increase it as you go. I mean, you can do up to as many as three different, say, sets of a minute on each hamstring if you want to. But the minimum I recommend is 30 seconds because you need to adapt to the stretch so you feel a change occurring. Okay, so do that on both sides. Then, of course, moving on to your back again, you want to do some glute stretches. I outline those in some of my other videos, but I'll do it again just so you can see. So cross one leg over the other leg, place both hands between one knee and pull towards you. Now when I do this, if you notice what's happening here, you don't really pull it up towards the shoulders. Okay, so sorry, shoulders towards the ears. You want to pull the shoulders back towards the ground, making sure the head is on the floor too. And there we go. Draw your chin to your chest and lengthen your neck. And hold that there. Also for about 30 seconds. And of course repeats on both sides. I hope that was clear there. And finally, of course, we're going to get down to doing the quads. So you'll need a small pillow for this, or a big pillow, but either one, something that's thick enough, okay, to protect your knee. Now we've already showed you the standing quad stretch at the beginning, so you can refer back to that video if you want to, or you can look at this one. Now this should be done with caution, and that's why we're using a pillow as well, okay? You must be very careful. If this hurts your kneecap at any point, you must stop, okay? Now, simply place the cushion on the floor, okay? I don't know if you can see that very clearly. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do it. That's it. Let's do it over here. It'll be easier. I'll do two versions from front position and from the sideline position. And so you want to come down to a kneeling position. Get this knee onto the cushion, into a lunge. Get yourself upright now and hold that position. So hold your tummy in, and my foot is up against here, okay? Now you probably can't see that very clearly, so I'm going to show you again from a different angle. I tilt this around here like that. So on the other side now. So my foot goes up against a wall or a cabinet, whatever you can do. And get into that lunge position here. Oh, this is quite bad for me. Like, I'm struggling with this. So I may want to come a bit further forward. See, this is my bad knee and my quad is quite tight, so this is ideal for me. So again, nice upright position, tummy in, okay? And bring that buttock towards the heel. Now again, think about this buttock. Make sure that you are tilting the pelvis forward like that, okay? Don't bounce it like this, just hold the stretch and try and sit as upright as you possibly can. Don't lean back. Leaning back will hurt your back. Just sit back like that, okay? And what you want to do is think about your forefoot, and when you're pushing back, push through this leg to get you to an upright position rather than leaning back. And again, same with all my other stretches. Minimum of 30 seconds. If you can, do both sides, of course. And that's absolutely fantastic stretch. That may be quite hard for you to get into, so you may want to start off with a standing stretch first and then work into that particular stretch. But that's one of my favourite ones. And the reason I like it is simply because the muscle attachment. So this kneecap is just the end of the quad, and you've got four muscles that go into it. And one of them, the rectus femoris, goes from here and it goes up this bone here. Okay, it goes to the hip joint and also what's called the anterior superior iliac spine, and it holds the pelvis forward. And if it gets tight, it just does that. It tilts you forward and creates a curve in your back. And as you can see, huge anterior pelvic tilt, which can give you back problems amongst other things. So we want to loosen this off to keep you nice and upright, like so. And you see a lot of kind of bodybuilders and powerlifters with a lot of anterior pelvic tilt simply because they do a lot of quad work and they don't stretch them out efficiently. Anyway, so give that a try as well. So you've got your hamstrings, your quads, and your glutes to stretch as well. Now, just here's a bonus thing. Now, we haven't mentioned calves. We haven't mentioned calf training at all. Calves are pretty important as well, okay? And just as an aside, if your lower leg gets a little bit tight, there is a chance that is going to affect things further up. So just as an aside, think about the calf at the back and also the muscles in the front as well. So what you can do before and after as well is loosen those off. So simple stretch it is by putting your leg behind you Now keep the weight on the heel, not on the toes. Point the toes forward if you can, and simply bend and lean forward, okay? That's good. Stretch these. Now these are really dense muscles, they do a lot of work. And the reason I'm saying we're looking at these is because these, your calf is like a shock absorber, okay, for your knees. So we use our knees as a shock absorber for our back, okay? So if I'm jumping, I bend like that so my back doesn't get hurt. But what helps the knees? Well, that'll be the calves and the feet. So we want to make sure these are in good order too. If these are really tight, they can't absorb impact as well as they should do, and then a shock goes straight into the knee joints. So we want to look after our calves as well. That's very, very important, okay? So as I said, simple stretch like this. Hold it for between 2 and 3 minutes. That's a long time to stretch. Another way to do that, if you have one of these rollers, put the roller on the floor, put your toe up against it. And we'll get bored of doing the same stretch all the time, so it's good to have a couple in your arsenal. Just get into there, nice stretch like so. And again, keep the weight on the heel and not on the toe, okay? I want you just to relax the calf as you're stretching it, okay? I don't want it to be actively charged. So you see some people, they like to hang off stairs to get that stretch, which is an active stretch, and that can work really, really well. But I found in my experience, having calf issues myself, I want to be able to relax that calf because it's firing off way too much anyway. So do those as well after you finish your workout. And of course, you can also foam roll the calf as well. You can lay on your back. You can get your leg on there. You can roll this thing out as well. Okay, it's a lovely way to loosen off too. And of course, and last but not least, of course, I was talking about the muscles on the front of your tibialis anterior, your peroneal. Now, if the muscles, especially on this outer part, are a bit tight, they have a tendency to cause a foot, okay, to turn up this way. What that in turn will do is twist you inwards a bit, and that of course will affect the knee. So always consider this as well, okay? And you can use those spiky balls, and you can self-massage just down here. And I'll tell you what, you don't need a lot of pressure to have an effect in here. You know, work all the way around like that, just to loosen everything off, okay? And of course, if you want to use the foam roller, you can do the same thing with the foam roller. It's a little bit more tricky. You're getting onto your hands and knees again like this, okay? You simply roll your legs back and forth. Now what I've done here is turn my feet inwards a bit, okay, to emphasize that area there, or just put the weight on one leg and then roll it like that, and then the other leg and then roll it like that, and even to the side as well. You can roll it to the side like so. Find the nasty bits and really get into those. Like I said, sometimes if your knees aren't getting better and you've done everything else, but you haven't looked at your beneath the knee, look at those muscles that go down, attaching into the foot and the ankle mechanics. They're really, really important. If your feet are very flat as well, one thing you can do is you can wear orthotics in your shoes, or you can get a special custom-made slippers you can wear with arches fitted in. I've got a pair of flip-flops which actually have a support fitted into them, and they're from a company called Performance Health. They're fantastic. Strongly recommend those. I don't work for them, so this is a freebie for them. But if they're listening, please send me some money. Anyway, so try that if you can as well. If you don't have any of those things, but you've got a good pair of running trainers, wear your trainers when you're training, okay? I know we're always told train barefoot, but if you train barefoot, there's a good likelihood, of course, that your mechanics may not be that good anyway, so you could just be making things worse. But if you've got a good pair of running trainers that are fitted for you with good inner soles, wear them. They'll set you up for the exercises, and they're less likely to cause problems with your joints by training within them. And there's no reason why you couldn't go back later on to training barefoot, but just for now, while you have a problem with that knee, train with your trainers on. Anyway, I hope that's all the advice I can give you today. If you need to know anything more, just get in contact with me. And if you want a one-to-one consultation, we can do this either via Zoom, or you can email me on info@johnmillerosteopathy.co.uk. Otherwise, hope this helps. Speak to you soon. Take care.